Welcome to the Gallagher Fire Safe Council area. We are going to do a brief overview here. We see the shading on the topography with red as the high point and violet and indigo as the low points in the drainages. If you'll direct your attention, we can also review how the Fire Safe Council itself sits within this area, more or less on a somewhat elevated plateau. Around the area we have BLM there to the south and east, and also Cal Parks to the west. Looking at the fire history of the area, we see that this area has definitely been impacted with wildfire in the recorded history. A much larger view gives us, of course, bigger fires, but zooming in, we see that there are some immediate to the area. The treatments proposed there are aligned well with the fire history, and we see that the topography is utilized to provide breaks adjacent to drainages and steep terrain. We have buildings situated throughout the area, which we will identify in the third wildfire simulation, where we use defensible space as part of a treatment. For the first simulation, we're going to look at a start off of Rattlesnake Bar Road. With southwest winds, we see that this thing is going to move quickly up the slope through the fine fuels and is going to come up right against the first large fuel treatment proposed. The main point here is we're not looking for the fuel breaks to stop a fire, but we are looking to see how the fire behavior is minimized, rates of spread are partially stalled, and we provide strategic points for suppression to engage. Noting that we did see some slowdown, but we also see the fire moving through and starting to catch up. This again, we are not trying to stop a fire with the fuel breaks, but really to provide safe egress and strategic points for suppression to utilize in order to stop this thing. And again, no suppression here, and this is a worst case scenario, but we are looking at what are conditions conducive to wildfire spread in September through November. For the second simulation, we've got to start off of Salmon Falls Road. Coming out of the steeper canyon there, we definitely see quick spread and immediate engagement with that fuel break. The fuel break does well to shape the transition of how this thing moves up the slope, but again, we're not seeing a complete stall out on fire behavior, and it does move through the initial ridgeline fuel break and begins to impact Gallagher Road. The slowdown is obviously advantageous for the sake of evacuation and response time for suppression, but again, the footprint may not change just based on these fuel treatments without any suppression resources. Letting this move through a little bit longer, we'll see the treatment on the right starting to catch up with the main fire, the initial untreated area on the left, but that shouldn't be taken as anything short of alignment with wind, slope, and fuels once it is past that reduced fuel profile. For the final simulation here, we added in some defensible space treatments around all buildings and structures within the Fire Safe Council and up to about 500 yards outside of it to the east. So as this thing gets going and moves up the slope, very similar to what we see on the left, as it impacts this initial fuel treatment, we'll see some reduced spread and potentially some differences in how it moves through some of the populated areas. Reducing the fuel around the homes provides for some reduction in fire spread, but because it is fairly sparse population, we're not seeing the same kind of effects we would see in a densely populated area with the same kind of defensible space in place. So as the footprints start to catch up, thank you for your attention here, and again, no suppression action was taken. The weather patterns are consistent with September through November events and a very dry fuel landscape.